I love a double play,
Okay.
A ground ball to the second baseman, actually. So where you go 4-6-3.
All right.
I mean, and this year, just like watching Brooke and Carly in the middle turn any double play, I think is my favorite. So I'm a natural pitching person. You know, that was my position, and then I've been involved with pitching most of my career. And so I think, of course, it's going to be a defensive thing.
Well, happy Thursday, everybody, or whenever you are listening to our podcast today. Welcome into South Carolina Sideline. I am Matt Dowell, and I'm joined alongside a very special guest once again. Gamecock softball head coach Ashley Chastain Woodard is joining our podcast today. Hey, Ashley, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. It's good to be with you.
Oh, we are so excited. Our podcast is so new, so it's fun that we're already getting such high-profile guests already because you are the D1 Softball National Coach of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very kind of you to say that. And, for me, that's just such a reflection of the whole staff and really the success that the whole program had this year. So thank you so much.
It's just an unbelievable first year. Now, before we dive into everything, as always, got to remind you to like, subscribe, comment, follow us, all the good stuff wherever you watch or listen to South Carolina Sideline. Hope you guys are enjoying the show, and I'm so excited for today's conversation with Ashley. So, Ashley, just for people who are watching or listening, everyone takes in podcasts at different times. We're recording this on the Thursday after the Super Regional. So it's only been a few days since the Super Regional against UCLA. How are you processing this now that you've had a few days to take in what happened over the weekend?
Yeah, obviously we had a heartbreak loss this weekend. We won Friday and then had a heartbreaking loss late in the game, bottom of the seventh, bottom of the seventh on Saturday. And then just got beat on Sunday. So we're just a few days still from that. And, many people have asked me, have you slowed down the last few days or, what have you been doing? And, for us, as soon as season is over, we have a lot of things to do just to kind of close out the year, close out the team and, kind of get on the same page with each player individually. So, Monday was Memorial Day and we actually had a visit on campus Monday with a potential Gamecock and but the team had off Monday, just to kind of recover from the weekend because obviously there was a ton of really great emotions and sad emotions, just kind of the full gamut of emotions, if you will. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, we spent all day in the office with each player one-on-one, just getting on the same page, talking about the year, talking about the plan moving forward, and we call them end-of-the-year player meetings. So we've been busy doing that. We finished those up last night. The portal is open. Hot topic for us. The portal is open, and it's
which is always fun.
I know. So unfortunately for the staff and I, time has not slowed down much since the season ended, and we're just trying to make sure we put ourselves in a good position with building the roster for next year, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And we've got a lot of spots to fill for the team next year. So that's kind of been my world the last few days.
It's such an intense weekend because the 3 games are it's like back to back to back. It's so much that they have to process as players. And as competitors, they have that high where they're moments away from such an accomplishment. It doesn't happen. It is like grief in a way, I think, as an athlete. As a coach, how much do you talk to them after? How much do you give them space to just let them process what they need to process? How do you approach that?
We take the approach of a lot of conversation. I think if you talk to anybody that played for me or even works for me on the staff, they would say I'm an over-communicator about a lot. So there's not much we don't talk about. I think we really just make sure that there's nothing left unsaid, especially when you're ending a season and you're losing so many historic players and just, players that had such great careers, and they've all got really exciting things coming on the horizon for each of them. So they all came by the office, just for, just kind of like what's next and just making sure they didn't need anything from me or the staff. And then I actually had them all at our house on Tuesday night, just kind of as a farewell girl out because everyone goes their way pretty quickly, what's next. I think even for the players that are returning, it was important for us to have some closure because you're right. It is really high volume, high speed for a long time. It's really intense. And then when it kind of abruptly ends, it is a form of grief of, just celebrating the team, being sad that it's over. And so I think we try to give as much closure to it as possible so we can all move on.
And those end of the year meetings, because one thing I always want this podcast to do is to give behind the scenes insight on how things work. I've talked about, our industry as media personnel and how we do things. So for those end of year meetings, with what you can tell us, how do those go about? How do those work?
Yeah, it's open dialogue. It's a two-way conversation about a lot of things. Your academic success on the year, that's a huge part of everything behind the scenes. And, as a team, we had a cumulative 3.86, I believe, GPA on the year. So we crushed the classroom, which is really important to us. So we talk about grades. We talk about just kind of where they're at with the team and getting feedback on their year as individuals of what did you learn? How did you grow? Where do we need to focus on for next year of more growth in the journey? And, what does their training look like during the summer? A lot of them get jobs or some of them go play, just kind of get on the same page about what the next couple months look like. And so it's a lot of open conversation and dialogue. And we talk about this past year and their performance and, just making sure that there's no stone left unturned on anything that needs to be kind of put out in the air. And then with the climate of the portal, of it just, is this where you want to be? Do you want to be a Gamecock? Do you want to continue to be a part of our roster? So, it's just a lot of conversation and also areas like strength and conditioning and athletic training and just everyone's in the room just to make sure that we cover all of our bases.
I love, too, that you pointed out the academic part of it because I do think that has gotten lost in so much of this new era. And I think a lot of people forget that they still go to class. It's not all about the NIL and just competing. They do have things that they have to do academically. So I love that you shouted out how well they're doing in the classroom, which they are student athletes still. So that was very important. I know it was such a historic season. And there were not a lot of expectations on you guys when it started. But when you look at it, I mean, number 8 national seed, hosting a super regional for the first time ever. The number 8, national seed, the first win in a super regional in program history. There were so many firsts in your first year. Did you expect all of this?
I've done a lot of reflection on that myself. And, I do think, I remember back last summer when we were building the team and the staff and, there was not much expectation about what we were going to do this year. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, we're going to be a good team. Like, we're going to compete at a really high level. I thought we would be talented. I thought we'd be good. And then internally, I thought we would build a lot of camaraderie and chemistry necessary and all the intangibles that it takes to be really good on the field. So I thought we'd be good. I said all along, I really wanted to host a regional, and I felt like that was really obtainable for us based on the schedule that we had and what we projected from the schedule as far as success goes. I think just kind of the highlight, I think, from my own personal expectation was getting the 8 seed to be able to host the Super.
Yeah.
I was like, looking back on it, I'm like, man, I never even expected that, and I guess shame on me for not, but it wasn't something that was highly thought about on my end. For me it was getting the program higher in the league, so we were preseason last. We didn't pay much attention to that when it happened. We just kind of kept going about our business and tucked it in the back of our brain, maybe used it as motivation in the locker room. But, just getting the league getting the team in a better spot in the league based on how we performed in conference and giving ourselves a chance to host a regional, I think was definitely something as a staff we talked about in the early weeks and months of being together last year.
Yeah, and I'm going to be real too. Let's all be honest. The preseason stuff in any sport is really just a talking point. It's just to give us something to talk about. So you never know until teams really take the field or the court how everyone is going to look. And I know in a first year when you're coming into the SEC, and SEC softball is so good. I mean, so good, so good. And I know when you come in as a first year head coach, I feel like sometimes people forget that you guys are all people. I think sometimes when you watch people on TV, they're almost like characters in a way, in your favorite teams, your favorite coaches, whatever it is. But you feel the same things that we feel. Did you ever feel pressure in this first year of almost having to prove something in a first year?
I'm sure there were moments along the way that I personally felt the pressure. In those moments, I'm usually, by myself in the car driving or, just a moment by myself, I felt like the team was going to feel enough of that. Just kind of thinking back to some of those conversations, I was like, man, they're going to start feeling the pressure. And especially I felt that after we went 20-0 to start the year.
Yeah.
Which, as a coach, you never expect that. You always, as a coach, expect to lose. Just
especially in softball, baseball. That's just it's so hard to win that many games in a row.
Yeah, and once the game starts, really anyone can beat anyone at any time. So, to go 20-0, once that happened, I was like, okay, they're going to start feeling the pressure as a group. It's going into the Oklahoma series and starting conference, and all of a sudden there was expectation and there were eyes on us. And so I tried really hard to not feel that myself, and then to instill a lot of belief and continuing to focus on the right things with the team as we kind of entered that phase of the story. So, I'm sure there were moments that I was that's usually what happens for me. I'm alone in my car with my dog in the car, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to be like for the team? I got to show up the right way. But I'm a human too. I feel the same emotions as everybody else does. But as the leader, you have to manage your emotions really well. So I try to keep myself in check with that.
Well, dogs always help with that. What kind of dog do you have?
He is a Lab Shepherd mix.
Okay.
And he's an old man. I don't know exactly how old he is. So a little bit about me. I have this thing. I really like adopting older senior dogs.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm a dog person, so I'm here for it.
Well, we are dog people, and everyone in the program, and there's always a dog around, I feel like. And so his name's Calvin, and he came from a shelter up in Lancaster, South Carolina, actually. And he ended up in the shelter. He's old. He's probably 12-ish. That's kind of where we're at. But he's a sweetheart. And he doesn't like big crowds, so he never made it to Beckham when we were selling out crowds or anything. But he's definitely a big Gamecock softball fan. He likes the girls.
So if there's a bark at the park, Calvin will not be there.
Yes, we did. We had bark at the park, and I had several people ask me, is Calvin going to make an appearance? And I'm like, Calvin does not want to make an appearance at Bark in the Park. He's like, there's too many people for him. He's kind of a lone ranger in that. So, but he comes every now and then to practice when it's just the team. He's a little bit more comfortable with that.
I respect it, Calvin. Yeah. I respect it. Keeping with the family theme, your husband is also in the baseball world. Yeah. And after this weekend's Super Regional, I think he actually quote tweeted our Jared Parker's tweet, just a soundbite, just saying how proud he was of you and all you've done. How important is not only the support system at home, but also to have someone in your home who knows exactly what you're feeling?
It's everything for me. And I would have never been able to even take the opportunity and start this journey in my own career without his support last summer. And people ask a lot if this is all we talk about, baseball, softball in our house. And I'm like, we really try hard not to only talk about baseball, softball, but we do share a lot of the same experiences. And, we know what it feels like when you have a tough loss or a really great win, or you're going through recruiting time where it's, it's a grind with the staff. So, I think we do relate to each other a lot on some things, and he's the best. He's a fantastic coach and a fantastic mentor to the players that he coaches, and he was a really good player himself. But, he tells me all the time, he's like, when I'm able to come to watch the Gamecocks play, he was like, I just love being a fan, because he doesn't get that experience a lot. And when I go watch him play, or when he coaches his team, it's like, I just like blending in the crowd and just being a fan, because we just don't get to experience that much with each other. Yeah. So, but he was fortunate enough to be at the regional final. His team, they were at Tulane for their American baseball, or the last series of the year, and the team went to Clearwater, and he actually flew back to Columbia just for the game, and then flew right back to be with the team on the same day. So, we're just kind of, we try to show up for each other when we can, and make it work.
That's cool. That's love, and that's commitment. That is awesome. And he's the head coach at Charlotte.
He is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Busy household.
Yes.
And I know we talked about as we look forward, because the end of year one's in the books. It is for you. It is done. Now, as you look ahead to year two, what can you tell us about what the team will look like next year, and what are your goals for year two? Yeah,
we're very much in the middle, actively right now, day to day, sometimes like hour by hour, talking to players. The portal is open, and it's been, we've had a lot of interest. And I think with just the success that we've had this year and just the culture that, you could feel and see through TV of all these people watching us play from far away, we've been in conversation with a lot of players that, maybe a year ago we wouldn't be in the conversation with. So for us, we just believe, just consider us in your decision. If we can get a kid or a player to, if we're in the top 3 to 5, if we can get in that mix and we can get them to agree to a visit, hey, come see Columbia, come feel it. Let's spend some time together. Let me show you how fantastic this community is and our facilities. And, we feel like we have a really good shot at the best players in the country. And so, the team will be a little bit bigger next year. We're going to have 25 players on the roster with the new settlement that's coming into effect July 1st. We're waiting for all of that to happen, but we're anticipating having 25 players, a little bit bigger. And so we need pitching. So I can tell you we're going to have some new pitchers in the circle. We need some more depth from the bullpen and just, being able to match up against, as you alluded to, the best softball conference in the country. Yeah. You cannot be short in pitching. We want to build a little bit more of a catching staff. Lexi Winters did a fantastic job for us this year, but, she's a senior and we need to build the future behind her. And then we lost the left side of our infield, with, just Ella Chansey and Brooke Blankenship of just, what careers they had and great players. And so we need a left side of the infield and some outfield. So it's going to be kind of a little bit of everything for us to build next year's roster. And we've got a group of freshmen. We've got the South Carolina Gatorade Player of the Year, Ainsley Bennett from Somerville coming in, who's a Gamecock, and she's going to be a true freshman. So we're excited about the freshman class as well.
And I know when it comes to recruiting, the crowd from this weekend has to help because it was rocking, y'all. Yes. Rocking. It was so fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it was. It's a great venue. It's a great fan experience. And when you pack 1,600 people in that stadium, it's loud, know, and I was saying this weekend, our horizon, when you're in the stands and you're looking out towards center field, you can see Willie B on the horizon. I was like, obviously not the same scale, but if we can create just such a powerful atmosphere that's created, right across, the way there at Willie B, that's such an advantage for us in recruiting and our current team's experience when we play really tough opponents. So it was awesome.
It was awesome. And I also just, there's something about that, that quaint ballpark atmosphere that I think is really fun. And it was just really cool to witness and really cool to see all the excitement from Gamecock Nation over there this weekend because the energy was just awesome. Well, because there is so much excitement surrounding this South Carolina softball team and the game at whole, we're going to take a quick timeout here on South Carolina Sideline, but we're going to talk to Ashley Chastain Woodard about the growth of college softball because it's booming right now. And we're going to chat about it right after this. College softball, like so many women's sports right now, it's booming. When you look at the ratings, the attention, the engagement, everything's up. Everything's increasing. Ashley, for you, what's it been like for you really in these last, I want to say 5-ish years for the sport to just take off the way it has? Yeah,
it's really exciting. I think back to when I played here in the 08, 09, 10 range, and it was a different time. And the sport was great then. The game has always been the game. And it's a wonderful game to watch because it's a little bit smaller of a venue as far as the parameters of the field. And, just the game is really fast. The game is really fast, so people really like it. You can get a really great game in about 2-hour window, which people love. And but I think what's been really cool is just to see the attention it's getting in the media and, the deals that our players are signing and how much marketing there is behind it. And also the facilities, we go and we play in these amazing facilities that athletic departments have pumped a ton of resource and investment into college softball, especially the SEC. It's a gauntlet of a conference for our sport, as it is for most sports, I understand. But, the best facilities and the best players. And I just think it's more on people's minds than it ever has been. And the viewership, in the World Series and postseason and throughout SEC play is really high. So I think we're kind of on a rocket ship right now, and it's really exciting to be a part of. And it's in the summer, everyone's just vibing, watching softball. It's really fun. And I will always say you have to invest in women's sports. I'm very much, a part of that conversation. I want to be a part of that, and help. And it has to have coverage. It has to have
outlets there. It has to have money behind it in order for people to see it. If people see it, they'll watch it. If it's not available, they can't become a fan of it if it's not there. And so it's been really, really awesome. Is there anything you'd like the sport to continue to do in these next 5 years to take it even up another notch?
Yeah, I mean, I think just with revenue share and just the model that we're moving into, I think, the players are really good and they deserve a lot of money, and I think that that's the space that we're in. And, I think the female sports deserve just as much money as some of the male sports have. And so I think it's exciting. It's exciting the opportunities that lie ahead. And I'm such an advocate for those opportunities for our ladies and our athletes. And I think from a facility standpoint, I think we're going to continue to see just improvements, that you walk into a facility on a campus and it's state of the art, it's updated, it has everything you need to be successful, and it's just like the baseball stadium. It feels like, a mini football building. It's got a lot of the same resources, and I think that that's the path that we're on and the investment that's being made, especially in our conference. So it's really exciting, and I'm definitely an advocate for anything that we can do to put these young women and these amazing athletes. I mean, they're really good athletes in the spotlight and give them as much of a platform as we can, to continue to grow the game.
Just like we have said for so many sports, the sports and the athletes, they've always been good. It's just now people are getting a chance to watch it more, and that has been so fun.
And I think, too, like we're moving into a space that, revenue sharing is on everyone's mind of what's coming down. And I think as a sport, we can get to a spot where it's like we are revenue generating on campus because, I mean, the community is into it and, that we can put money back into the department. I think that is so obtainable for softball and especially here in Columbia. So, and you've got to build it. So, our job right now is just to put the best product that we can on the field and build it, and then people will come. And I think you saw that, especially at the end of the year this year as we made a run in postseason. So, I'm just trying to build it, make something that people are really excited about, and, bring players to Columbia that people can attach to and can be great examples to their children and, and just athletes that others aspire to be and inspire the community. So I think like I said, we're on a rocket ship and it's exciting.
Everyone get on the rocket ship.
Yes,
it's been a lot of fun to be a part of, and I'm excited to see how this sport continues to grow. Well, Ashley is not only the Gamecock head coach, but she's also an alum of the university. And so we're going to get to know Ashley a little bit better with her favorite things right after this here on South Carolina Sideline. On our podcast, we like to have a little fun, and get to know everyone a little bit better. So, Ashley, I know everyone sees you in game mode, in the dugout, ready to go. But not only are you the head coach of South Carolina, you're also an alum. So you have a lot of memories, both past, present, and, in the future, there will be many more. But I want to give our viewers and our listeners a chance to get to know you better and what you're like both on and off the field. So my first question, as a student at South Carolina, what was your favorite sporting event that you got to go to?
Football, definitely. Yeah. Yes. I mean, during my time, we did not lose a home football game when I was a student here. It was the Steve Spurrier, it was the Stephen Garcia to Connor Shaw. Like we were kind of in that. Marcus Lattimore. I mean, Williams-Brice was just the place to be. And so I just remember those fun opportunities just to be in the student section. I don't even think it was called the cockpit at that point. I don't know when that became a thing, but I don't remember that. But I think Saturdays, at Willie B are just some of my favorite memories here. And we were really good. Yeah. I mean, I remember when we beat Alabama here at home when they were ranked number 1. Yeah. I went to the SEC championship game in Atlanta, when we got to compete for that. So it's just, and now for me, I take recruits to those games, and so I'm able to talk a lot about my experience, in the student section, which was a lot of fun.
Iconic era, and I also can't believe that 2010 was 15 years ago.
I know. I
know. You're talking about that era. I'm like, oh yeah, that was like last year.
I
know. So now that it is 2025, do you have a favorite sporting event that you like to go to now, or is it the same?
I mean, just what Coach Beamer and those guys did last year, just, going to the games, it was kind of like reignited in me. It's just like how fun it is. And obviously I'm in the recruit section, not the student section anymore. But I had so much fun bringing recruits all last fall to all of our home football games and just, the Cockaboose experience and, the tailgating. It has grown. I mean, Gamecock Park didn't really exist when I was here, as a student. So just to kind of just see the tailgating experience expands, and be able to share that with recruits. And honestly, too, when I was here, the baseball stadium opened. It wasn't Founders Park then; it's been named that since. But that was opened in 2009, and then we won in 10 and 11. So I remember that a lot. I have a lot of memories of the baseball stadium opening. Mm-hmm.
And I tell everyone too, the pregame for football and stuff. Now it's like a concert now. I mean, I'm like, all right, this place is rocking. So it is a lot of fun. And like you said, I think the Gamecock Athletics have done a great job in really making everything feel like an event now. It's been a lot of fun. So it's cool to see. I think football is obviously the leader as it is at most schools, and then everyone has kind of helped follow that lead. So it's been fun. All right, on the softball diamond, do you have a favorite play in softball that gets you going and gets you fired up?
I love a double play,
okay.
A ground ball to the second baseman, actually. So where you go 4-6-3.
All right.
I mean, and this year, just watching Brooke and Carly in the middle turn any double play, I think is my favorite. So I'm a natural pitching person. That was my position, and then I've been involved with pitching most of my career. And so I think, of course, it's going to be a defensive thing, but I just think when you're in a jam and you have a chance to turn a double play and you get a ground ball that's like a double play up the middle, and to see Carly and Brooke turn those this year, and Ari being so good at first this year, being a part of that, I think that's my favorite. And then just getting off the field with a double play. Yeah.
I love it. So that's the positive. Now on the other end, what's your biggest pet peeve on the diamond?
Oh, I think leadoff walks.
Okay.
Yeah, we really try to track leadoff outs. That's a part of our process on the defensive pitching side. So when you get a leadoff walk, it's like the curse of the game that it's like that run is gonna score. So that is one thing for me that I'm like, I just cannot stand that.
I've got two more for you. Mm-hmm. It's 2025. So if you were playing now, what would your walk-up song be? Or would it be the same as what you had when you were a Gamecock?
Well, I've actually gotten this question a lot from our team and just some of our recruits. And I remember, I feel like, I don't know why I picked this, but one of my walkout songs one year was Circus by Britney Spears.
Okay.
And and now every time that song comes on or they'll play it, they laugh at me. And I'm just like, listen, I have no idea why I picked that a long time ago, but that was one of the only ones I remember. But
it was a banger. It was a banger.
Yeah. Now I think it would it'd have to be something Hootie and the Blowfish, just because, the connection. And we actually played Hold My Hand in the 5th inning this year. That was kind of a new tradition for us. Or the Rolling Stones. Robert and I went to the Rolling Stones concert a couple years ago at Bank of America in Charlotte, and it's probably the best concert I've ever been to.
That's cool.
Yeah, Mick Jagger, I don't even know how old he is now, but it's he still's moving around like he's 30. So probably one of those categories.
All right, so the music taste kind of goes all kinds of places. I'm the same way. I like a little bit of everything. I think it's fun to see what the players pick, because some of them you're like, okay, I didn't see that coming, but I'm here for it. So that's cool. And my last question for you, this really has nothing to do with sports. I'm just a TV show lover. I'm always looking for recommendations. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite TV show that you're watching right now?
I am not watching TV right now.
Okay. No time.
No time. But Robert and I did talk the other night. We were like, man, okay, now that it's the off-season summer, whatever that means, we should start something. So I need some good Netflix or Hulu recommendations. Okay. But I like the limited series where it's you've got 8 to 10 episodes, and you could get it done in 2 or 3 days. That's my thing. So any limited series that I'm all about.
I know Severance is on my list.
Okay.
I haven't gotten into it.
That's
I know everyone's talking about it on Apple TV, so that's one. But it looks intense, so I'm like, I got to be in the right headspace, I think, to go into a show like that. But that's one that's on my list. Well, we're going to take one more break. Thanks for doing that, by the way. That was a lot of fun. We're going to take one more break here on South Carolina Sideline. We'll wrap things up with Ashley Chastain Woodard right after this. Ashley and I are, welcome back, everybody. Ashley and I are laughing because we're talking more about our TV shows. You're into political dramas, the juicy,
Scandal,
Shonda
House of
Rhimes.
Cards. Yeah.
I love it. I'm a big fan of both of those shows as well. Well, as we wrap up our episode with Ashley Chastain Woodard, Ashley, what's the summer look like for you? Mm-hmm. You get a vacation? What's next?
Yeah, Robert and I, in the summer, we typically will take a few trips, but they're shorter. It kind of revolves around recruiting, because for us, when we get done with our season, we definitely move into a pretty heavy recruiting cycle. And we've got the portal, and then also just getting off campus and seeing a lot of high school prospects through the summer is really important. So, we'll take a few trips. I mean, we'll probably sneak down to Hilton Head, Palmetto Bluff, or we went to St. Simon's last year.
Cool.
We were able to take Calvin to the beach for the first time, which was really cool. But and then I have a 2-year-old, 2.5, I guess now, Audrey May, my niece. So I'm sure I'll probably try to take a trip with her and my sister and her husband at some point. But those trips are usually last minute planned around recruiting in the summer. And we usually try to take a bigger, more planned vacation in December, which is probably the slowest time of the year for us.
So the holiday season is really when you get to debrief and kind of put the phone down and just enjoy the family life. Well, before we wrap up, how can people follow you? How can people kind of keep up with the team and follow you guys into year 2 under your head coaching?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're going to try to keep social media updated throughout the summer, and just, as we get new players that become Gamecocks, like slowly introduce them to the fan base. And there'll be plenty of opportunities once school starts in August to meet the team, to see the team in action, and get to know all the new players as we start to train in the fall.
That's cool. Well, it has been an unbelievable, and Gamecock softball is the tag. Yes, Gamecock softball is the tag. Cool.
Yes.
For Twitter and Instagram and all that good stuff. So give them a follow. They do great content with Ashley, with all their players. It's really, really fun to keep up to date with the team. Ashley, congratulations on your first season with South Carolina. It was such a fun ride to be a part of. I'm excited to see where the program continues to grow and go next season. And I really, really, really appreciate you coming on to our podcast. It's a new operation here, and having someone like you on has really just been awesome, and I'm just so happy you got to be part of it.
Well, thank you for having me. I love talking about the program. I love talking about South Carolina, and just thanks for the platform to do that. It was a lot of fun, and I'd love to be back.
Yeah, we will definitely have you back. But first, I don't know, go like hang out and rest. And, I think you've earned it. That's Ashley Chastain Woodard, everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching on YouTube, for listening wherever you guys are listening. As always, one final reminder, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff with our podcast. Hope you're enjoying our conversations. We're having a lot of fun doing this. I'm Matt Dowell. We'll see you back here Tuesday on South Carolina Sideline.